Winterland, tell me all your secrets. Fill me in on your wildest moments. Colored trees, your yellow leaves move me. Dancing roofs, your painted red shakes the room. When I get there, I'll let my feet roll. When I get there, I'll break in your arms, I'll lose control. When I get there, I'll know the answer. Let me know when I get closer.
Hey everybody, happy Monday. This is Overpass Live. My name is Eric and I make apps. This is the weekly live stream where we just sort of hang out and talk about whatever we want to talk about. Every single time I start the live stream, I don't really know which direction it's going to go. I don't really have a plan of anything to talk about, which is something I think about from time to time. I think, maybe we should come up with a topic. And people have said in the past, why don't you come up with a topic for the live streams? And every time I do think about that, it's like we get derailed by questions and stuff like that. And it's one of those things that, something I've been thinking about a lot this week is that I'm not very good as a planner, right? When it comes to doing stuff, I'm just like, let's just give it a go. In fact, getting into applications, a lot of it was just like, let's just see how this works out, right? As opposed to taking everything so seriously, like, well, let's have a plan, let's think about everything to do. So when I do these live streams, some of the criticism I get is like, dude, man, you're just talking about nothing. And you know what? Guilty. So this week is like really cool because I just got back from Italy yesterday. So I went from, for years, I've wanted to just do like short trips. Like I've been like living in England for like 24 years and I just want to do like a weekend trip to go someplace to the continent. And like flights are really cheap. They used to be even cheaper, and there was always but there's always a reason not to do stuff. And so finally I got to the point, I hope you guys can hear me by the way. So I finally got to the point where it's like, yes, I'm just going to go someplace. And I did a few trips last year. Like 2 years ago, I went to Slovakia for a few days. But as soon as I did that, like COVID hit. And it was like not doing anything. And I started to realize that I'm using COVID as an excuse to not do stuff. So I'm like, I have to force myself to go out and do something. So I was like, so I went to Bergamo, flew in like Ryanair flight from London Stansted to Bergamo, Milan, and stayed at a nice little Airbnb in Bergamo, which was really cool. Went out, had a lot of red wine. Talked to a bunch of guys, which like the English. I mean, they didn't speak English very well. I obviously don't speak very much Italian. I don't speak very much Italian. I could say like 3 things. So it was like a really, really good weekend. So I've done a couple videos while I was over there, which will go out tomorrow and on Friday. So anyway, it was really, really cool. So that was what I'm most excited about today. But let's see who's here. Joe's here. Hey, Joe, how's it going? Hey, y'all. Kevin's here. Good evening. Hey, Kevin, how's it going? Savan is here. Hey, how's it going, Savan? And Danraj, hey, how are you? And Morris says, Apple will push iPhone subscriptions. Apple's in the works of iPhone hardware subscription service that will squeeze more revenue from its giant user base. I guess they're going to, this was one of those things we saw. I haven't actually read this story, but it seems like, when that 30% gets taken away from them, like this kind of this unfair thing where we're like, it's like, like we can say that we know that there's it's not the whole thing between monopolies and capitalism, just being able to do what capitalism does, where Apple and Google both set up Apple set up an infrastructure where they could where all of us exist as app developers, and then Google, of course, followed suit like shortly thereafter, and they both charged 30%, which was kind of a weird thing. And I think Microsoft charged 30%, although I don't know because I've never put anything on the Microsoft store. So it was kind of weird that they did that. And now that we're complaining about like, oh, it's too high a price, they've lowered that. So I'm wondering if they have to recoup that somewhere else. It's kind of like I don't know, like. You can only push them so far before they'll start to take stuff back. However, if it is something like I'll have to look at this story. Morris also says, we will own nothing and be happy or eat sea bugs. Yeah, I mean, own nothing and be happy. I mean, yeah, I don't like I've talked about this before. Like when I worked in investment banks, like we would like work with software vendors, and they would give us like something that we'd install on our servers using our infrastructure, using our databases and everything like that. And we had to pay them a license fee for each user. So they never knew how many users we had on the system because they were like, we had to report it to them so that we could pay them a subscription to use their software. Right, but of course, if there was any updates, they weren't automatic. At least when things moved to the cloud, subscriptions made a bit more sense. But the Adobe suite, Creative Suite, doesn't make any sense to me as a subscription service because again, it's hosted like if it was constantly communicating with their servers, then I know they have server costs and other kind of stuff. If I want to keep using what they have, but like basically, most of the computing power is on my computer. I bought their software. In the past, I was able to just buy their software and use it. And now they just want to be able to just do it all the time. So Jeff's here. Hey, Jeff. Everyone's so well-dressed in Italy. They were. Everyone was so attractive. It was, well, actually not everyone. I think it was like kind of thing where you think everyone's like making this generalization because you're looking around like, you just like, some people are so attractive that they made everybody else just fade into the distance. Like you're looking at it, like, wow, she's really attractive. That guy looks like he's a model or whatever. You're just like, everyone was like really, I mean, it was Milan. So it was like, it was really nice, but I was so like, it was just a really cool experience. And it's like, I want to do this more. When I moved into the flat a couple years ago, it was like the first thing I said, I want to go someplace every month. Like I want to make up for all those years of not traveling and saying that I was going to. I want to make for all those decades. And then, as soon as I moved into my own place, it was like COVID hit like 5 weeks later. And it was just like, it was like I felt like I was responsible. Like, because I had like, I could have done this at any time, but when I decided to do it, it would be so. Easy bugs. Big companies are making our live subscription services. Yeah, you know what? I think it's like advertising. Yeah, I wonder if it's because advertising has become so much more difficult. I always thought advertising, like, so much of our economy goes through ads. I mean, I'm as an app developer, as somebody who made loads of money through AdMob, like I'm definitely part of that. But like, how well are ads working these days? Like if you finally get, so like as an app developer, what do? You say, okay, I need to get people into my app. So I'll pay money for advertising so they come into my app. I'll pay money so like I'll pay whatever, 10 cents a user, but reality is probably like $1 a user. They come into my app and I make 10 cents from them. Like the economy, it doesn't work because we're all going after the same thing. We're all going through advertising, and it's getting to the point where the creepiness of advertising and the tracking and everything like that is starting to really, that was with the Apple 14.5 thing where there was like, where you have to ask for permission to track and stuff like that. It's like, as a consumer, it made total sense. As someone who survived off advertising, it was like, it kind of sucked, but it's like, ultimately, I think it'll probably be better. But they have to, like these companies have to make money somehow. And, I think we probably will go that way. Let's see, Patu035. Hey, Patu, how's it going? Hello, Eric. Where did you put your iMac? Where are the specs that iMac, i.e. RAM, storage, screen size, and efficient for programming? So I put my iMac in my bedroom. I was like thinking, and which was a huge mistake, by the way. It was like, did it like 3 weeks ago, and I got my son to help me, and we carried the desk in there and everything. I read Atomic Habits, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to change things up a little bit. So when I'm working at my desk, I'm just focused on that. And it's got to the point where like, I don't want to hang out all day in my bedroom. So I'm thinking about moving everything back into this room again, at some point. I love using the iMac. I love having the desktop computer. I'm trying to get used to using this because, like I said before, my ultimate goal, my goal used to be like, I want Overpass to be this big company. I want to hire loads and loads of people and have a big office where I can sit there like king and say, you do this, you do this, you do this, and not you do this until you mess it up, and then I do it instead for you. So that's what I want to do. That was my old goal. And as I was thinking, like, it's really hard to find good developers. it's really hard to find people to help out. And so in the end, like a lot of the software stuff was done by me. So I was like kind of like I felt like I was the guy I was selling a rowboat service, and I was the guy doing the advertising, standing on the dock, flagging people down. I was the guy rowing. I was the guy, I was the captain. I was the crew. I was every part of it. Even when I hire other people, they were just like passengers on my boat. So that would be very cynical, but it was like it's either. And I tried different management styles, everything like that. In the end, I thought, you know what I want to do? I just want to okay, let's stay small. Let's stay small because when COVID hit and all these companies were struggling, I was kind of glad that I slimmed down just right before that. Like I didn't have to worry about letting people go. I could just, carry on with what I was doing. And now what I would like to do is just be able to travel. So, but one of the things, if I want to travel, is I can't be relying on that big old iMac in my bedroom, which is every time I try to do something, I'm like, I'll wait till I get home for that. And I was like, no, I have to be ready to launch my development tools and do everything from this tiny little MacBook Air. And, it's like, it's like trying to force myself to do something that's like, I could easily do it on that other computer. It runs faster. I got the nice big comfortable chair and everything. I got the multiple monitors, but I'm trying to do more from this thing. And so far, like I keep falling to okay, I'll go work on the bigger computer, stuff like that. And it was easier with it being in this room. So, and the specs of it was a 2019 iMac, I think, or I got it in 2020, in early 2020, but it was just your standard iMac i7. I got it with 8 gigabytes of RAM, and I added another 64 gigs into it, so we have 72 gigabytes of RAM in it, and it's really good for video. Like when I was using my my MacBook Pro with 16 gigabytes, when I do video editing, it was really slow. Even compiling applications took a while. Surprisingly, compiling an application and running it on a mobile device, even on the iMac with 72 gigs, takes about the same amount of time. I think it's more the transferring it to the device itself. But let's see. Sakeni, hey, how's it going? It says, hello everyone, all protocol observe. It's Peaky Pioneers PK PDF Pro. Google haven't released an update for 2 years. All protocol observe. Hello, all protocol observe. Okay. I'm gonna, if there's something you want me to do with that, just elaborate a little bit. I'm not quite sure what that is. Let's see. Morris says Italian girls are pretty bold. Well, I went with my son. It was like I didn't really, I have no opinion on that. But I do know that on Friday night, I was just out by myself. I went into this place and I was talking to these Italian guys, and it was just like a really fun night. We were doing, just talking about, we're talking about COVID. We're talking about what life's like in England. It was like, they were buying me drinks, so I was buying them drinks. So I was like, we doing lots of shots. It was a good night though. Let's see, Matthew. Hey, how's it going? Matthew said, how long does it usually take to be able to Google your own website? You should be able to Google it. Well, actually, what you could do is get the Google Webmaster Tools, which is like another website, and you could actually submit it in there for Google to index it. So if you're not getting indexed at all, then you can put it in there so that you make sure that they actually see it. I think it's called Google Webmaster Tools. It's been a few years since I've actually done it, so if anybody knows the exact terms or if it's changed, but back in the early days, that's what I was doing. I was like manually submitting it to Google through that, because if there's nothing linking to it, then there's not. Google doesn't own the internet; they just own the browser and they own the the search engine. So as their things are going out and discovering everything through the page rank and everything like that, if yours doesn't have anything linking to it or anything, it might just like exist out there in a vacuum. So you might want to submit it that way. And again, this is like an SEO thing, and this SEO is not really my area. I might be, and every time, like whenever you talk about SEO, this is one of the things I don't like about SEO, because like I say, yep, not since Panda. Like SEO people are just crazy. I would hate to be stuck in an elevator with an SEO person, just like going, what keywords you going for? Keywords. Which is rich because that's what I talk about a lot. Like Morris says, big companies can want sustained revenue for subscriptions, not one-time sales. This is something that I thought about too. Like with Overpass, when I was doing all the client work, it got to the point where I was, my whole thing was I wanted to be fair. I want to be fair. So like I unless I'm actually hosting something or maintaining something, like they want me to like be on call, I just charge for the work that I do. So I'll say, okay, here's the work, there's the code, you get somebody else to do it. If you want me to do something else, let me know, I'll quote for it, and that's it. So so there's lots of apps out there that are live that I've done years ago that have just not been updated or anything like that. So I'm not getting any revenue from those clients. Which is, I think, is better for them. That was my whole thing, is I'm thinking about them rather than me. And the problem with that is you don't have a sustained revenue model. So what I used to think of it was like, again, like the rowboat analogy I just did a few minutes. I used to think about like, this was like the Tarzan analogy. Like every month was like I'm swinging from vine to vine, hoping the next one is going to be there, hoping the next project's going to be there next month, hoping that the project that we're working on or whatever, which project that we're going to finish this month so we can actually get that money in so I can pay all the bills and pay everybody and get everything done. And after a while, that was just stressful, right? So right now I have recurring revenue from a few clients, which is doing hosting and stuff like that, which is good, like, because it's just basically making sure their stuff is up and running, make sure I check it from time to time. And then I also do contract work, which brings in revenue too. So, that's really, so I kind of get it. I kind of get that why they'd want to do like sustained revenue and stuff like that. But that's what I was saying. Like for the clients, it's kind of a sucky model because they're just paying me to do nothing, right? And that's the same thing I think about with these subscription services. Like, if I'm paying to get access to something, then that makes sense. If I'm paying for them not to lock the thing I already have, then that kind of makes, that's totally different. Let's see. Rachel says, do you think, hey, Rachel, how's it going? Hey, good to see you. Do you think no-code app builders will put us out of business or make our lives easier? I think they'll make our lives easier. I think we'll have to evolve, kind of like, like we, as software developers, we should always be evolving anyway. I think about, when I learned HTML and then, maybe a little bit of PHP or ASP was more my thing, classic ASP. It wasn't like I saw WordPress as a threat. I saw it as a tool that other people, all the ones at the time that were started coming out was like Mambo, WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, all those kind of, it was PHP Nuke was one that I remember it came out, and it was like that stuff just made it so anyone could just install something for free and then they could set up their own website and all that kind of stuff. Now if they wanted something custom, then they have to come to us. So like that's where you have to evolve with what you want to do. With a lot of these no code software solutions, they can only do so much. But you start but the same thing with the website, like the website stuff with WordPress, like a lot of people just had that they needed. Like, to me, going to, like, I get people coming to me for apps and stuff like that, which is like, they're basically asking for something that should be a website, or they're just asking for something that's like, it already exists. And like there's other services they could do. Like there was I probably shouldn't say what it was, but it was like something, it was like a very common model. And I was like looking out and I was like, well, there's a company that, they'll do this for you. And that way you don't have to go through the whole development process. And they've got other clients. They basically, this is their niche and they could do that for you, which is like not good in terms of like turning down the work, but it's also like, why would I want to reinvent something that somebody else has already done? So I think that, we're always evolving as developers and like, what more could we do to do stuff? However, so that's like if somebody has like a common model, something already exists, and they already do it. But what I find with a lot of people want apps done is they want something that's unique and different on the market. So like if there's no code solutions out there that could do that for them, then, like how could that actually, help them? Some of the stuff that, like a lot of the stuff that I do is like, or that I do for the clients is like they've got like a hardware device and it communicates via UDP packets or by Bluetooth or via their API or something like that. And so it's just being able to do that for them. And a lot of the times it's like working directly with their hardware developers. So like that's something that's a lot of work seems to be coming from that direction. I don't think I think it will make our lives. Do I think it'll make our lives easier? I think it would if you're putting something out there. But it's like what I don't like about those is that you got this walled garden thing. When I was looking into like Good Barber and Appy Pie and stuff like that a few years ago, the thing I kept running up against was like, well, what? Okay, so this does like 80% of what they want. What about that other 20%? And it's like they don't have that way to actually get in there and code around that or create custom modules or stuff like that. So you can't actually do that. Some things like Cordova, you could write like your custom module that would use like native code, but it was so you do most of it in Ionic and then do but then that's still building something from scratch in my opinion. I don't know if that makes any sense. Sakeni says lost my APK key to update. That sucks. Yeah, that's one thing. If we, you have to make sure you keep that key, right? You have to make. I've had developers lose that key for me. I say, every time I say that, I feel like kind of a jerk because I was like, those guys lost my key. Like it was like when they did it, I should have said, give me the key store, and give me the key store file and the password and everything. Make sure that I should compile it myself because that's the one thing that they cannot lose. So like for me, I'll put those into the GitHub repository and everything too. I know they say you shouldn't do that, but I don't trust like having a hardware failure or having a hard drive failure, if you've ever had one, is like devastating. Even though I've got external hard drives and backs up, I've got online stuff, I got stuff, all my key stores are also get backed up into Google Drive. Like it's just making sure that you don't lose that key store file. I got so many duplicates of key store files. Like I'm thinking, well, which the one which is the correct one? But yeah, I'm afraid I don't have a solution for you. Like when it's gone, it's kind of gone. You could release it under a different package name. You could try to contact Google and see if they'll help you with it. But like they got to the point now where they can actually do they hold the key for you. But it's weird because I still sign the APKs myself, and I know that you could do it so that they'll do the signing for you, but you still have to sign that initial build in order to upload it for them to sign it again. Robert says, yeah, the big centralized systems have been pushing a lot of nonsense and insidious censorship. I deleted Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. Yeah, isn't that weird? It was like this thing where I can remember where people were saying like, why would you build your entire business on another platform? And we're like, but like we're doing it on Google Play, we're doing it on the App Store. It's when the World Wide Web came out, the nice thing about it was free and open. Right? It was just like you could just and then everyone's trying to like, well, how do we stop piracy? How do we stop these crimes going on? How do we stop all this kind of stuff? And it's like trying to patch up the leaks as we go and introducing things that were antithetical to what it was. Which is kind of like what the censorship is doing, isn't it? It's kind of like the people should be able to say what they want. I don't know. I always thought you fight bad information with good information, and maybe there's just so much information that's no longer possible. That conspiracy theories and stuff like this just go out of all over the place. But yeah, everything's been a lot. It's so much more polarized now, isn't it? Things just seem to be a bit crazy. Jeff says, Eric, do you know what percentage of iOS App Store price you receive as a dev in the UK? What percentage of the App Store price? I receive 70%. So is that what you mean? Like the what percentage price? Yeah, I mean, still 30% that comes out. I know they came out with that thing, the small business program, which is like 15. You could get down to 15%. I applied for it and never got it. Which reminds me, there's another thing where I tried to So we've got a client application where like somebody left like a really nasty review on, like a false libelous review. So I submitted that as a to Google Play, thinking, okay, now they have a way you can report reviews. Like where I remember back in the beginning they couldn't do that. And I was like, oh, cool, let's just do that. Of course, they denied they denied that, so I got to figure out how to appeal that. Yeah, so like when I didn't approve me for the Google Play small business thing, it was like just I don't even know who to contact, who to email or nothing. No response at all. Matthew says, I used Google Search Console about 3 or so days ago. Yeah, that bit I don't really know. I don't really know how long it takes. It's like, yeah, my website's been out there for so long. Search optimization is snake oil. Yeah, tell me about it. It's like a black art. It's like that thing where it's like saying, God, you still get that stuff. I could get your app to the top of Google, and you're like, and then you go, okay, do it. And they go, well, what search terms do you want to target? I'm like, that's like, what am I supposed to do your job for you? Let's see. Robert says, have you ever contracted for an agency? The pros and cons. I have. Well, consultancy. So the pros so there was this one consultancy that I did that I was contracting for that. I guess the pros is that they brought the work in. The cons was like they were also like they didn't want to spend any money. So it was like I needed developer tools. So we had a server. There's like it wasn't even like developer tools because I was using my own laptop. I thought I'll buy my own laptop. I don't care. Like it was like back then it was kind of like a lot of the contracts I had back then you used their computers, and now it's like I just use my own, which I prefer much more. But I was working this thing, and we had a server that kept running out of disk space, and it was like this really cheap server. Like it was, and we said we need like that was the thing as a developer. We need a decent sized server. We need something like if you want us to do this, we need a decent sized server. And they were like, and the business were like, no, just make do with what you got and everything like that. And at the time, my rate was £310 a day. It was supposed to be 300, but I negotiated the 10 pounds up. Right? It was like kind of weird. So it was like, and then it was one of those like where they were like, well, I started to realize that when I found out, we were out at the pub one night, one of the managers said that, they charge us out at like 800 a day and we were making 300 a day, which is fine. It's all on them, but at least they could have got us a server, right? It's like that thing where you don't have the tools that you need and you're just constantly doing this and they're like, ooh, I don't know. And they're schmoozing. What? So they were schmoozing the business, everything like that. It was just kind of like, you're just sitting there like, okay. It was one of those situations where like, I just didn't like the fact that like, it wasn't that they were charging so much like for my time. What bothered me about that was like, surely if you're getting that much from them just by me showing up to work, then you should be able to give us the tools that we need to do this, because it was, and I'm usually, I've always been like, don't spend any money unless you have to. Like, don't go and tell them like, we need this server, we need this infrastructure, we need this, we need that. Like, because it's like, we're more creative when we're limited in some way. But like, if you have a server that just keeps crashing every day because it kept running out of space, it kept running out of memory, and it was like some ridiculously small server. It was like, actually, it wasn't a server, it was a virtual machine using VMware on an even smaller box. So it was like we had nothing. And it was just, it was really, really tough. So, that was one I didn't like. That was an investment bank. And so like we were, but the pros of it is that, they brought the work in, right? If I had a problem with the business, I could just tell them and they had to deal with it. That was their issue. So Theo Taylor, not in the house, just passing through. Oh, did we miss you? Theo, you got like a podium on your picture here. Samuel, hey guys. Hey Samuel, how's it going? Let's see. Morris says, what percent of your work is pure iOS work? Hardly any. I don't do pure iOS. Everything I do is cross-platform these days. if I do any, like the last bit of pure iOS work I had was like somebody bringing me an existing project. Because if I'm quoting for like a new project, I'm not going to go with native, not unless I have to. If it's like something that I have, if I have control over, my whole thing is like, let's go cross-platform. It's either going to be Xamarin or Flutter, just because of the ones that I like working with, and so yeah, it does, to me. It doesn't make sense unless it's something that's, it definitely has to be native, which is like maybe it uses something so new. Like I've never done anything in ARKit, but I think that might be something where we'd have to do it in native. But even then, you might be able to get by with just doing that in like Xamarin. So yeah, I don't do any. Let's see. Matthew says, after you set up your site, how long did it take for people to find it? Dude, it took me a while. Like it wasn't like you set up your site and people find it. It's like putting an app out there. Like you got to like start. You can't just like back in the old days of the web, back in like the early 2000s. I remember I worked for a place that they had this domain. They had this domain that they bought, and they spent like a lot of money on this domain name. And they thought, but they didn't have a website there. But they did have like a server, again, a little computer in their server room, which was just like a desktop computer, but they were like, that was their IIS server. And when I came into the company, they wanted me to do the website and everything. So I went to it, and I was like, and they said they don't know how, like they didn't have any Google Analytics. I don't think Google Analytics even existed back then, because Google was still very new. So basically, I went through and wrote a script that went through all the IIS logs, and they were asking like, how many hits are we getting a day? And I was like, in the month of March, you got 16 people came to this address. It was like, and he goes, I thought it'd be hundreds a day. I think it was because that was their expectations back then. Was they thought that getting it set up, just set it up and people will find it. But no, it's like with apps. You have to go out there and pull people in. So what you might need to do is like, write some content, start putting stuff out there on the different social media channels. Like start getting stuff out there that are searchable. Like someone's searching for stuff. Think about like, you could think about they're going to search and find your website, or they're going to search and find some other website that links to your website, or some other content that you've written somewhere else or whatever. So start thinking about the keywords and everything, and how, like, what kind of stuff will people search. Use something like askthepublic.com, because that, like, you could put in your keywords there, and it could, like, those would be nice topics for like blog posts and stuff like that. But you got to think about how do you get people to actually get to it. Morris says, Stefan Mischuk is pure web. Avar's Majors is pure iOS. You've seen it like a hybrid. I don't know. I'm Eric. I'm Eric. I make apps. I don't know. I do what I feel like doing. I don't think I have a niche. We just hang out and talk about apps. I do think that hybrid applications, ever since I started them, they get like a bad rap. Like even Ionic had a bad rap for a long time because of me, because my video about why I wasn't planning on using Ionic anymore did really, really bad. They asked me to remove it, and at first I didn't because the video was doing really well, and I believed it. I'd gone off Ionic. I was like, it was this thing that just it didn't seem to be necessary anymore. And but they asked me to remove it, and I did. And it was like, because I felt like I don't want my channel to be, the growth of my channel is based on pulling somebody else down. So this whole, here's why I hate this kind of post, I try not to do, right? But I do think that hybrid applications get a bad rap, especially among native developers, and they're getting better and better all the time. Like I think about when Java was like, in the early days of Java, using Java for GUI was like, people say it's so slow, it's too CPU intensive. Like you don't want to use Java to create a desktop application, but the processors and computing power caught up with that, and it was perfectly suited. And I think that's the same with these. Our mobile devices can handle these mobile frameworks a lot better. Let's see. Bobby says, you are joined the coalition of app fairness. They are the leading charge against App and Google. No, I haven't joined it. Um, yeah, I think it's like I hate to be one of these guys who's like an appeaser, but there's still the thing where I still make money through Apple and Google. Like it's, if they didn't if they didn't do create these platforms, then I wouldn't be able to actually do anything like with them. I made hundreds of thousands of pounds off these well, yeah, more than that. Like I'm 100, well, not more than hundreds of thousands, but like I've made hundreds of thousands of pounds off this. So it's um, so yeah, I do think that the fact it's almost like to me, I honestly think Google would have stayed more open if they could, if they didn't get the pressure from the outside. It's like a good news story is, um, you know, anti-Semitic ads are being shown for Holocaust videos on YouTube, right? And they're like, "What, YouTube? Why are you allowing this to happen?" So they have to write this algorithm that tries to because they can't do it by hand. Same with Facebook; they have to make sure that that they don't have fake news on there. But like anybody could post anything, so now they got to write these algorithms that do that. So now we're suffering as developers. We're putting stuff out there because an algorithm is going and just shutting us down. And they're just like, and if it seems kind of on the fence, like they're not even taking the time to look at it. They're just trying to play it safe. So now the app, whatever the app platforms are, they're playing it safe now. They're trying to stay, relevant, and I think we're suffering from it. Morris says, Elon Musk bought 9% of Twitter, now the biggest shareholder. He will change them now. Oh, I hope so. I expect Babylon B and Trump will be back on Twitter soon. Let's see. Matthew says, apparently I have 0 keywords on my website. Matthew, last week you were going to tell me what the website was. If you just tell me okay, put in 2 different things. Put what's the website name without the .com, and then tell me if it's a .com. Like, I'm sure we can figure this thing out. Ayush is here. Hey, how's it going? Hey, Eric, it's been a while. How have you been? I've been good. I've been really good. Going to college next year to majoring in computer science. Have any advice for a CS student? I don't know. I think you should enjoy it. Like, I think so when I was a history student. So like, I think, I don't know. My whole thing was, I think if I was to go back to school now, I'd want to go and enjoy all the times I didn't have, because when I was in university, I was married, and I was like, just, kind of boring. I was like, just, I want to go do all the fun, university stuff. But, yeah, so I don't, if anybody else has anything for Ayush, like, I think my thing is, study hard, obviously, try to get good grades, but also know that once you get out of that, you're still in competition with everybody else. Right? I think that's one of the things that I kind of get the feeling when I talk to other developers that I've worked with, that they're computer science students, they kind of like have this entitlement mentality. And like, you cannot be entitled about anything, right? You got to compete for something as if as if you don't have a degree. You got to be like, okay, I have this degree, I'm better qualified, but I'm still going to apply for every single position that's out there. And when I'm in a position, I'm still keeping an eye on the market to see if anything better comes up, and leapfrog your way up into that thing. I do think if you have a degree versus not having a degree is better, because it does show that you've taken the time to learn it. I talk a lot on this channel about whether or not you need a degree to be a software developer, and I always say no, you don't. But then that kind of discounts the fact that I've spent like all the years and years of the books I've read and the trial and experimentation and working with other people who say, Eric, your code sucks. And you're like, damn, like, how do I improve this? And then you're like, and when you're coding while somebody else is looking at it, you're like, okay, how am I going to do this? And then like reading, and then getting into more involved stuff like inversion of control and design patterns and stuff like that, which when you're starting off doesn't make any sense. Or you can't really see the reason for it, but then you start working with other developers, you think, oh, okay, I see what that says, and and having proper automated testing and stuff like that. So all that stuff goes, like, you still have to put the time in. So going through universities I think is going to be a good thing, but know that you still, what I would do, actually, again, this is something, do as I do, do as I say, don't do as I do. I would still keep working on your own apps and working on stuff that's you could put on your CV because when you do get out, you could just be a badass powerhouse of an employee, because you are Mr. Right to anybody your CV goes in front of. Let's see. Jeff will say, I was meeting with the VAT and the digital tax and whatnot. Not sure how it affects total revenue. Hope you get the 15% deal sorted out. Oh yeah. So for me, I think, no, see, this is weird to say because my account, this is what my accountant does, and I'm hoping that they're doing it right. Like with Google Play, I have to do the VAT MOS stuff. I have to every quarter I have to export the financial reports to Google Play, because you have a lot more control over that. You can issue refunds, you can see who the users are, you can deal directly with the customers. And with Apple, you have no control over that. You can't even, if somebody says the app's not working, you're like, sorry, it's not working. Or it's not, it's not what I expected it to be. All I could say is contact Apple, and then maybe they can give you a refund, because I don't have the power to give the refund. So the whole thing was the way that Apple does it is different. Apple handles all of that and everything like that, is my understanding. So with that, I don't actually have to worry about the VAT when it comes to that. Let's see. But yeah, so there's a big difference between the Apple and the Google Play. Google Play, I got to get all that stuff done. I got to export it. My accountant does complains about it all. But when it comes to Apple, I don't have any of those reports to give them. So they would I don't even know what country. I guess I could tell what country they're coming from, but I don't pay the VAT. I mean, Apple handles that side of stuff. And if anybody else out there is doing something different, let me know, because I am going based on what my accountant tells me. my certified accountant. It's not just some guy. Morris says, I know a Windows consultant makes $2K a day, but he has to pay us X $1,000 a year. I knew, as a SharePoint developer, I could have. This is 15 years ago, where I knew a contractor who's using Murex, which is this trading software, and he was a developer, but he was making £1,000 a day, £1,000 a day, and which I thought was wow, but I could probably this is the thing. You're thinking, if I sold my soul and think I'm going to be a Salesforce developer, I've done a little bit of Salesforce development with Apex and stuff like that. And it was just it's just boring. I just don't, it doesn't really do it for me. And SharePoint was one where I nearly quit a place because they were going to SharePoint development. So I was doing all this SharePoint development, and I hated SharePoint. Thanks for all the thumbs up, by the way, everybody. See, Theo says, yeah, I did a pic from this presentation I did. Awesome. If I do a presentation, I'm going to take a picture. Morris says, my name is Eric and I make apps. I also killed Ionic. I didn't kill Ionic because Max Lynch was one of the big guys at Ionic. He emailed me a few times saying, look, can you remove this or whatever? But he left a bad review, and I was like, okay, I'll leave it on there. Because my whole thing was it's my opinion. I still kind of think this stuff. And it was it was weird. There was one point where when you would Google Ionic framework, it's my video would come up first. Why I'm not using Ionic anymore. And then he just emailed me maybe a few months later. He says, your video is really hurting us. It's, Apple's not rejecting stuff because of Ionic, all this stuff. It was my whole thing was and that's what I said in the video. They're not rejecting it, but I'm kind of, if they did, I'd be screwed. And some people were speculating that. And then, so in the end, I just removed the video. And it was it's one of those, it was one of those things where I thought, I have to be fair to them. It's am I going to be this, this guy who gets YouTube, who gets subscribers by any means necessary, or am I going to be someone who's fair? And it was my whole thing is not to pull people down. It's just to, hang out with you guys. Let's see. Bobby says, Bobby Generic. Hey, Bobby Generic. I know it's tricky for indies like us. Yeah, it really is. Silver and gold scrap calculator. Let's have a look at this. Okay, I'm going to go. Calculator.com. Okay, let's have a look. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, so we got silver. So this is Matthew's website, silver and gold scrap calculator, fine metal-based characters. So cool. So you've got press kit, which is a video. Oh, and now I get demonetized on my videos. No. So yeah, okay, so yeah, I'm not sure why it's not found. So yes, silver and gold scrap calculator.com. Yeah, there's not that much text in it. So yeah, when we talk about having no keywords, I mean, if you were going to go something, I hope you guys can see my screen. Let's see, what was it? Ask, I think it was askthepublic.com. Nope. Let's see if I can ask the public. Does this still exist? No, it's Answer the Public. I did a video on it like a few years ago, and I look at it for that time. Answerthepublic.com. So if we were going to do this like goal calculator, like if you were going to go through here and look at some of these some of the suggestions for keywords and stuff and articles and stuff you could write. Let's see. It's loading, processing. So here you go. You got stuff like, what can you make with 1 gram of gold? How much gold calculator? How gold calculator? Gold calculator tool. These ones kind of suck, but let's get these ones over here. So, gold calculator in grams, gold calculator in GST. So there's lots of stuff there you could put in there. I mean, I would do is not do them like this. I would work them into a different way of doing it. Gold calculator in India. So you got the different locations and stuff like that. Comparisons, gold calculator and whatever. So this is something this is not really a good, I might not have chosen a very good keyword, but it's something you might want to look at there, Matthew. Let's see. Judas West, 2000 burner. Hey, how's it going, Judas? Says, Judes, sorry, Judas West. I'd say, Ionic is dying because the other way around. Native development in Swift and Kotlin is a lot more friendlier than Java and Objective-C, minimizing the advantage of JavaScript. Yeah, I agree with that too. And Ionic always had this thing with being a web view based application. So you still had the you're using CSS and everything, which is cool, like because you could use those existing web skills, but you get to a point where you're spending so much time doing stuff in Ionic that you for me, like I still get the thing where it's growing so quickly that every time I use it, like I've got all kinds of dependency issues, and I hesitate to say this because I know somebody's gonna say, oh yeah, but in version such and such you got the was it? I can't remember what it's called. Like you have a different way to do it. You could do it in React now, or you could do whatever. So, but it's like at the time I was like, it scared me, that kind of stuff. So, Morris says about the when in college, give presentations on things. It looks good on your resume, and say your presentation is technical topics. Yeah, if you take a picture of it, like Theo does, that'd be cool too. SharePoint used to be the highest paid job and most hated job. I hated SharePoint development. Like I met other SharePoint developers, and it's like you could make a lot of money doing it. That was just why the company I was working for wanted to go that way. Yeah, but Eric, we're going to make a lot of money doing SharePoint. And it's like, yeah, but we're selling our soul to the devil. We're working on we're going to be the Ford Escort of software developers. We're going to be the bland middle of the road. Hey, have you seen the new? You went over here like, hey, we support Edge now. It's really really fancy. I don't know. You'll need the HTTPS. I think we found it. So it's called Creculator. Did we just look at something? Creculator. Am I looking at something else? Call it Creculator. Oh, is that the website? Salvan says, off-topic question: have you ever got a speeding ticket? I got the camera thing. Like I'm like, up until like 3 years ago, I've never had a speeding ticket in my life. I'm really like, I had a motorcycle for like 10, well, I guess in my life, I got about 15 years. So like when I got the Mustang a few years ago, I got rid of my motorcycle that I had for 10 years. And when it comes to being like on a motorcycle, I am like the most safe, motorcycle rider of anybody. I would have like, if you've ever ridden a motorcycle, people like they nod to you as I go past other bikers, right? I had a biker go past me on the A34 going like, he must have been going about 100 and I was going 60, 70. And he actually did an over the shoulder head nod. I was like, oh, come on, man. Cause I always do the speed limit. So the fact that I got a speeding ticket and I got this, it was kind of like shocking to me. I was going 35 in a 30. Right? I guess I was just not paying attention, right? I got a 35 and a 30, and I had to go to the speed awareness class. So I'm in there with people who are like real speeders who've been in this class loads of times. And I'm sitting in there thinking, it's like, like when they say someone goes to prison for like, I don't know, stealing cable or something. Like, used to be an ad in the States, like, they're like some rapists, murderers, and they're like, I stole cable, right? So I'm like, I'm with these people like real hardcore speeders, and I'm like just 35 and a 30. I'm like, let's see. Matthew says, does it help adding a robots.txt help? I think adding a sitemap will help, but you only have the 2 pages. So, and I don't know if robots.txt really helps. Because I just did do that. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, that's an SEO thing, and it's kind of outside my thing. Morris says, tell your kid to get jobs they cannot do at home so they have a home life after work. Yeah, I don't know. For me, I love working from home, and I love like just being able to have that, not have the commute and everything. But when I do actually work in an office, I do like that, having that division between the 2 places. So. I said, and Morris says, I was suggesting Matthew Creek call his calculator. That's a cool name because it brings in your surname with it. I think that's pretty cool. Let's see. Jeff says, you're lucky you got speed awareness. I got 60 pounds at 3 points twice. Dude, yeah, I know. It was like, I don't know. The fact that it was a camera that got me too. Like, it was like, first of all, it was like 10:30 at night on Botley Road in Oxford, for anybody who knows what that is. So like, it's like 10:30 at night. Like, there's nobody out on the streets. Like, I happen to be going a little bit over. I didn't even see a camera. So like, it's like, to me, that's like, I wasn't endangering anybody. I wasn't doing anything. It was like this whole camera thing. That's what bothers me about it. It's like, I also got, I did get a ticket for, it wasn't a speeding ticket, but it was like driving in the bus lane in Cheltenham. And it was not on purpose. It was raining. I couldn't see anything. I'm like, in Cheltenham, like it's one of these cities that have like, it's all like one-way streets. Like, you get in there like, I can't find my way out of this stupid city. And then like, you're just constantly turning, like you're like, oh, like, okay, let me turn around here and go whatever. And apparently I went through a bus lane. So like a few weeks later, I was like, this, tickets and, and they always do this thing where they say it's going to be 80 pounds, but if you pay before this date, it'll be 40 pounds. So you're like thinking, I could contest it. But then, like, maybe I should just, bite the bullet and pay it, and while it's early, and then that's what I did. But yeah. See, Morris says, I got two speeding tickets and 40 years of driving on the same day, 73 and 79 miles per hour in a VW Bug. Oh, I know, man. I got a warning once in Missouri, and that was like one of those. I thought, oh, get the street going. Like, back right before I moved to England, it was like. A cop pulled me over. I guess I was going a bit too fast. And again, I am not like, if I'm going too fast, like, it's more of a shock to me than it is to them. Because I'm like, seriously? Because I really thought I was going the speed limit. Like, I'm just not a speeder. Like, despite the fact I grew up watching Dukes of Hazzard and Smokey and the Bandit, I am not a guy who speeds. So it was, getting that thing, it was like, but he didn't give me the ticket. He gave me the warning. And I was like, yes. And then a few years ago, I got that stupid speed camera thing. Driving is no fun anymore. Yeah, I know. It isn't really, is it? That's one of the things. Like, when you think about, like, if you ever became rich, it'd be like, okay, fly first class everywhere and get a driver. Because, you know, I drive a lot of places. It is fun to drive someplace sometimes. But then after a while, you're like, yeah, as the dad, you're like the one who's always driving, which is, means like, you know, you're getting these messages, text messages, you got emails coming in, you got all this business stuff going on. You're thinking, okay, I'm just going to check this, you know, I'm just going to glance over. And then everyone in the car goes, don't look at the phone. Like, fine. Like, I'm the one who gets the most work coming in. And I got like, you know, like, and nobody else can do the driving. So it's like, yeah, definitely is. So, hey, everybody. So we're about an hour here. This has been fun. Thanks, everybody. You really cheered me up with this speeding ticket thing. Even though I'm saying, get me all mad about stuff. So I'm going to get going here. I got to do the boxing class tonight. It should be fun. And last Wednesday night doing sparring, I had my bruised nose for like the whole weekend. I'm in Italy, just like kind of like just because I'm like, you know. Because when it comes to boxing, I suck. But I keep thinking if I keep doing it, it'll get better. Hola, amigo. Long time no see, senor. Hey, Rizwan, how's it going? And Matthew says, should I move the music from my press kit? No, I don't. The only reason I said about it is every time I start playing a video or something, like I've been demonetized before because I don't know what music comes from that thing. So I like once I was looking at somebody's app and I thought, let's just play the video on the app. And I got I got a hit for the copyright stuff. So that was the only reason I stopped it. But like that won't be an issue for your users. And then Rizwan says, how's Flutter going on? It's going well. I've got one application that it's sort of maintaining, but a lot of stuff I'm doing lately has been on Xamarin Forms. So anyway, everybody, I got to get going. Thanks very much for joining the live stream this week. I hope you guys stay healthy, stay safe. You know, we'll do this again next week, shall we? And I got a couple videos coming out this week from Italy, you know, so try to look surprised as if I'm at, you know, obviously I'm back from there, but they'll come out tomorrow and then on Friday. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great week and I'll talk to you next Monday. Bye.
Winterland, tell me all your secrets. Fill me in on your wildest moments. Colored trees, your